morning. All right. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. That's just me opening some water. So, hold on a second. Oh, gosh, that's so good. So, oh my gosh. So today, I'm going to talk about, what am I going to talk about? It stems from a conversation that I had yesterday online, or on Facebook Messenger. And good morning to that person I had a conversation with online. So we were talking about, what were we talking about? We were talking about, how people make the same mistakes over and over again, and it's like they're on this cycle of repeating their mistakes, and they're like completely unaware that it's even happening. And so it's like, people feel like life is miserable and they don't know why it's miserable, like they don't know why it keeps happening. And there's a simple explanation for that, and that is these people live life not understanding what love is. And that's a hard one for someone to even comprehend, because if you ask someone what love is, they'll tell you exactly what they feel love is. They have a definition, they have an idea of what it is and what it represents, and most of all the actions that are taken in love. So if you say, hey, what's loving? Oh, well, loving is, being kind and generous and all these different things. However, that's not completely true. It's slightly true. It's part of the truth. But it's not all of the truth. And so when we're looking at our lives and why we keep making mistakes, we have to understand that every single time that we experience something that that brings about discomfort or pain, sadness, anger, uncomfortable situations, it doesn't matter what it is. The reason why those things are happening is because that person or we as human beings have some unloving things within us, and those things are being triggered. So I guess I'll just talk about, what love is really. And some of the things you may not agree with, but if you look at your life, you'll understand, or you'll see the connection in terms of what I'm talking about. And it's kind of warm in here. 1 second. Gotta turn the air conditioner on. Okay, so let me put some chopstick on. Hold on. I don't have any coffee this morning. I had it earlier, but I'm trying to cut down on my intake of coffee, which is crazy because I just bought this espresso machine. And yesterday I bought like over 100 capsules. And today I'm trying to cut back on coffee. What a joke. Okay, anyway. That's so funny. So what is love? Love is, well, let's go this way. Let's talk about the things that we do that are unloving, so that we understand why the pain comes about in our daily lives. Anytime we try to appease someone and we feel like our voice isn't heard or we're not carrying out our will, that's an unloving thing to do. First and foremost, we have to love ourselves. And anytime we put someone else before ourselves, that means we're being unloving to ourselves. And that is the first unloving thing that you need to recognize. So let's say a friend calls you up and they say, hey, let's go out and have drinks, or let's go out and have coffee. If you don't feel like going and your choice is to stay home and relax, you should stay home and relax. But what most people do is they feel obligated. They feel obligated to go and hang out with their friends, and they don't understand why, but they understand why. They understand that if they don't go, then there's a possibility that this person will not call upon me again to hang out. And that is a fear. It's a fear of losing that person. And that is something that we have to acknowledge and recognize, because this happens a lot. I used to do this all the time. Like, I didn't want to go somewhere, but because my friend invited me, I was like, oh, I better go, because, you know, they may believe that I'm not their friend, and then, you know, they're not going to talk to me as much, and they'll start hanging out with me less, and all these little things. And they weren't huge, but they were subtle enough to get me to go. And that means that I went against my will. My will was to not go and do any of those things. So that's something we have to recognize, is that when we deny ourselves the will that we have, or the desire that we have, we are being unloving to ourselves. And this is where this stuff starts. It starts with us. If you start being loving to yourself, you can be loving to other people. Because it's not, most people feel it's loving to acknowledge the other person and hang out with the other person, but that's not really true. Your will is different than their will, and so they're going to have to find someone else who is in alignment with their will at that time. You don't have to obligate yourself to do something you don't want to do. So yesterday I went to Panda Express, and because I was too lazy to cook, because I was working and running around all day. So, you know, this homeless guy sitting, well, he says he's homeless. He looked kind of homeless. I don't know. He could be, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, he said, hey, I'm homeless. Can you help me out? But he had a foot-long sandwich, some chips, and some drink sitting there on the table. There were like these little tables outside of the restaurant. And I'm looking, I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, you have food. Like, someone bought you a whole meal. And he's not even eating the meal. It was just sitting there. And he had the audacity to ask me, you know, can you help me out? I'm homeless, as I entered the store. Then, as I exited the store, he said again, hey, I'm homeless. Can you help me out? Like, that was his routine. That was his routine. And there was no way I was going to help this man. No way I was going to help. Now, in the past, I would have helped him. I would have given him some food. I would have said, hey, you know what? You know, I understand, you know, for me, I would have said to myself, you know, I understand you're not working. But the thing is, he is working. He's sitting there asking for money, and people are giving it to him, and people are buying him food. So he's doing what he's doing to survive, because he's not dead yet, and he looked rather healthy. Like, he wasn't like all sucked in or anything like that. So the thing is, you know, with homeless people, and I had to learn this because it was hard for me in the beginning, because I was taught, you know, to always give and always help people who have less than. And what I have realized is that I am not helping anyone who has less than. If I'm just giving it to them, and they're not generating it for themselves. Sure, I was able to generate it, and yes, I'm able to share it. However, why aren't they able to generate it for themselves? And so I'm not willing to subsidize that. That's not my desire. I understand that it's like, if these people want more, they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to change something within their soul. Like, me giving them money or giving them food isn't going to change the situation. It's just encouraging them to sit there and continue to do nothing with themselves. And we're not here on this planet to do nothing with ourselves. We are here to experience and explore. And a person who is homeless has so much pain, has so many emotional injuries within them, to the point where they can't be motivated. There's nothing within them to motivate them. There aren't any desires. They feel defeated, and for whatever reasons they have, you know, experienced these emotional injuries. They're there within their soul, and that's something that they're going to have to recognize in order for them to have a different outcome. But if that's what they want, that's what they want. And if people want to support that, they can support that. But what I've learned is, when you interfere, because we have to understand that someone who is homeless is experiencing, they're in a state of discomfort. There's a state of pain. There's a state of sadness when, you know, people won't really support them. They're out on the street. Like, nobody wants to be on the street. That is something that the universe brings to them based on the soul condition that they have. And so we have to understand that if we interfere with that discomfort, because every time someone helps him out and he stays there and someone helps him out, these people are going to experience a karmic effect, and it's going to be a painful one. And they don't understand that. Like, most people on the planet have no clue that helping someone in that manner will cause them to have karma. Bad karma, not good karma. They believe it is good karma, but they're interrupting the laws that are interacting with that homeless person. So the law of attraction is bringing them this experience so that they recognize that this isn't the experience that they want to have. But because we keep subsidizing it, we keep giving and giving, we tell the person it's okay to be like this. It's okay to not be motivated. It's okay to not have desires. It's okay to not have any kind of goals. It's okay to not accomplish anything. It's okay to not really be integrated with society. Like, these things are things that are supposed to happen for us so that we have an experience, but he's not having an experience. And every time we help someone like that, we preclude them from realizing that, hey, this enough is enough. I want more than this. You know, it's like, it's hard out here to get food. It's hard out here to survive. I need to pick myself up and do something. We don't allow them to do that because we keep giving and giving and giving. And while they're able to survive, I need to get over. And while they're able to survive from our from the gifts that we give, that's what you want to call it, but they're not really gifts. One sec. There's a lot of traffic. Oh, because I'm like 30 minutes late. I was like, there's so much traffic, and the sun is like beaming in my eye. Oh my gosh, I need to get over there. So anyway, that's one example. Another one is this thing where we, sometimes as if you're on this path, if you're on this journey of finding out who you are and trying to figure out how things work, sometimes we have to pull back from the people that we know. And that's one of the hardest things to do. But it's one of the things that we must do. Especially if you're on this path of truth and you're trying to find out, how to prevent these experiences or these bad or painful experiences from happening. As we realize the things that we're doing that are hurting ourselves and others, we sometimes have to pull back and we have to be by ourselves and collect our thoughts and kind of get in touch with ourselves, because when we're interacting with other people, we lose ourselves. We get caught up in the lives and the drama of other people, meaning we get caught up in the manifestations of other people. Like the manifestation that other people create for themselves, we get caught up in that. And so sometimes we have to pull back. And sometimes it feels like we're being mean. Sometimes it feels like, we're not being nice or whatever. It's like, oh, they're going to think that I don't like them. We start taking on these, or conjuring up, I should say, these beliefs. And it doesn't matter how they feel. What matters is how you feel. And this goes back to what I said in the beginning. We have to love ourselves first. And if you have a desire, if you feel you have the need to withdraw from people and collect your thoughts and connect with yourself, then that's what you need to do. That's what needs to be done. And the reason why that needs to be done is because if you're interacting with whomever you interact with, and you find yourself just in a frenzy or in a whirlwind, like everything's just moving too fast and you need to, figure things out, that's what you need to do for yourself. But we have to understand that the people that we're hanging around are causing or contributing to this whirlwind that we're experiencing. So because of our soul condition, the state of our soul, we are attracting all these people who have different dramas going on in their lives, different problems, and they just want to burden you with them by talking about them, and they really don't have any desire to work on them. They just want to talk about their dramas. And as it becomes overwhelming, we sometimes have to pull back. But what we have to recognize is that the people that we're interacting with, again, are contributing to this state that we're experiencing that's causing us to have to step back. this is difficult to do, especially, like I said, if you're on this journey of truth and love, and you're recognizing what love is, and at the same time recognizing the things that are unloving that we are engaging in, but more importantly, what other people are engaging in, because we engage with them and we carry out the same things that they carry out. And so this is one of the issues that people have when they are on a path of truth, is it's hard to give up the friends and family that they have. And the thing is, if your friends and family are contributing to your unhappiness, to experiences that are unpleasant, then you have to pull back from that. You have to pull, because you are the most important thing. You have to look out for yourself, and if someone is contributing something to your life that is harmful, you have to break free from it. It's no different than, someone doing drugs. If they're a drug addict and they're trying to stop, they're going to have to stop hanging around the people who are contributing the drugs, who are saying, hey, just try a little bit, just, hey, don't stop now, what's wrong with you, why are you being like that? They'll try to pressure you into doing things. But family and friends pressure you into doing things that you really don't want to do. And this happens all the time. I was talking to this girl, she said, I'm on my way, to, excuse me, I'm on my way to my family's house, and something about so, hold on a second. All right. So she was saying I'm on my way, to hang out with my family, and it was some kind of Rashma, I don't know what it was called. It was some kind of observance, some religious observance or something, where you don't eat eat or drink for a whole month from sun up to sunset, but after sunset you can eat, or something like that. I don't know. It was something Amara or something, whatever it was. I don't know. So, and she was feeling guilty because she ate, and she was like, oh, I hope my mom doesn't, she said, I hope my mom doesn't figure out that I ate already. And so I guess she ate during the time she wasn't supposed to eat. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wow, what stress over food. I mean, and if it's a religious thing, then it has to do something with their God of some sort, right? So it's recognition or to honor God or sacrifice something. So it's like, okay, you believe, so she had a desire. I mean, the woman was clearly hungry, so she ate something, right? She was working, she was moving around, and so she ate. And she was feeling guilty for doing something that she had a desire to do, that she felt she needed to do for her body. Like, she literally felt guilty. And if her mother found out, her mother would have shamed her. And I'm thinking, I'm like, gosh, this is what happens, when you are governed by your friends and your family, when you live your life surrounding their beliefs and desires and needs and wants and all this stuff. Like, that's how most people live their lives. And I didn't say anything, I was like, what am I, Kate, who am I to tell this woman, what's going on or whatever. I mean, clearly she has her beliefs, and she's bound to them, and her family's going to make sure that she stays on track with them. And if, she decides to kind of veer off a little bit, she's going to hear it. And that was evident by her fear of her mother finding out that she ate something. I'm like, oh gosh. So this is the stuff that I'm talking about, and that's just one example. I mean, there's many in the lives of all kinds of people. Like, everyone has their own family dynamics, and the parents approve of these things, and they want the children to live this way, or the grandparents, or the aunts and uncles, or the cousins, or whoever, or the friends. There's just a lot of pressure to live a certain way, and as we do that, we don't live for ourselves, meaning we don't love ourselves. So every time you do something that someone else wants you to do and you don't want to do it, you're not loving yourself. And We are taught not to love ourselves because we are taught we have to live for other people. That's how we're taught. You must do it this way in order to honor your family. You must do it this way in order to not get any flack from anyone. You know, if you don't want to be made fun of, if you don't want to be scolded, if you don't want to be chastised, like if you don't want these things to happen, then you have to live how other people want you to live. And that is not loving yourself. And this is where all the problems come from. Excuse me, this is where all the problems come from. Zachary, do not leave late again. This is ridiculous. Oh, really, sir? Okay, I'll just come over here. Yeah, that's where all the problems stem from. So we have to recognize the things that we feel forced to do that we don't want to. Come on in. He even waved at me. Oh, look. Oh, that's because he's an older guy. A lot of the older people are like, thank you. Thank you for letting me in. I'll get there someday. If I'm lucky, right? We'll all get old if we're lucky. Some people, their lives are cut so short. Which is a law of attraction. How early you die and how you die is all law of attraction. And that's another thing, your death. Like, if you have all of these things going on in your life that make you unhappy, they stress you out, they shorten your lifespan. But not only that, they call different experiences to you that could end your life prematurely. And that's another thing. Like, if you want to have a long, happy life, then you have to start loving yourself. And that means you have to stop feeling guilt. You have to stop feeling shame. You have to stop feeling like you have to live for other people. And like I said, it's a hard thing to do. But that's why all your problems are happening, because you're not loving yourself. And you haven't figured out what love is. So some of the things I wanted to talk about were identifying what love is. So you know what love is when you apply it to yourself. Like, do you think it's loving when someone yells at you? No. So the next time you yell at someone, understand that you're being unloving. Do you like it or just to force you to live or do something that you don't want to do? No, that's going against your free will. So you feel the pain of not being loved in that moment. So when you try to force someone else to do something or make someone see something a certain way when, hey, they have their own view, you have to let it go. And this is why it's so difficult, because we keep doing things that are unloving, but we don't realize that they're unloving. And most people will say, hey, I know what love is, But the thing is, yes, you're aware of some things that are loving, but you're not aware of what you're not aware of, which is why you're not aware of it. But of course you're aware of the things you're aware of. I mean, come on. That makes sense, right? You're aware of the things that you're aware of, but you're not aware of the things that you're unaware of. And so this is why it's so important to learn and find out the things and seek out the things that you don't know so that you do know. And so as you listen to videos like this, you start to get a better understanding about things, because you're learning things that you didn't know before. And now you can apply it. You can incorporate it into your life. And honestly, it's really not that difficult, but you have to want to do it. I'm not even going to try to do all that swooping that they're doing up there. Yeah. Is that a no, it wasn't. So, anyway, I don't know what I was just saying before that. Love. Is it loving to, is it loving to do things? Oh, here's a good one. So, some people, in order to maintain a relationship with someone, they will do things that they don't want to do, but they know it will ensure that they won't leave. And people do this in relationships all the time. Like, some women will actually have children. Look, you creepy person back there. Like, Stop riding so freaking close to me. Fool. Ooh, that's a lot of smoke coming out of that car. That truck. Smoke screen. It's like a police vehicle. Yeah, some women will have children just to satisfy the man and keep them around. Because they don't want to be alone. There's a fear there. And so if there's fear, that means that there's a lack of love within themselves, meaning they feel like they can't make it on their own. They don't want to be alone because they're insecure for whatever reasons. I mean, and women, they do this for many different reasons. They could do it to try to trap a man, because like I said, they don't want to be alone and they want to keep this person. They don't want anybody else to have them. Look at all these cars. Go ahead. I mean, you're already out there. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. What? You want me to be an asshole like you're being an asshole? No thanks. My soul is worth more than that, you know? It's like, you have to be mindful of that stuff. That's another thing. That's unloving. So if someone does something to you that's unloving or hurtful, look how far this person got. If they do something like that, and it upsets you, it gets to you, do you do something in return? No. Like, they've already darkened their soul by doing whatever they did to you, or degraded their soul even further. And so you have to ask yourself, do you want to degrade your soul? Like, they're going to have to suffer the consequences, you know, for the actions that they've taken. They have to. It's law. It's going to happen. There's no way they can escape that. And the thing is, if you do it, there's no way you can escape yours either. You have to pay for the unloving things that you do. So when people like that, like this guy who cut, you know, like just did this completely illegal thing, when he did that, he totally dismissed everybody else and could care less of, you know, who was, because we were on a hill, he could care less who was coming up the hill as he was going down the hill he was in the other lane. Like, he's gonna have to pay for how dismissive and rude that, you know, he was to another soul. People don't see it. They don't see that stuff, but they see it when they die. And usually they don't see it because most people don't understand why they are where they are. They just know that they're there, and it just makes them more angry, and then they carry out more, you know, things that are unloving. So that's another thing. Be mindful of how you treat others, even if they treat you badly. When someone treats you badly, we have to ask ourselves, what's within our soul that caused that law of attraction to happen? That's why, you know, it's important to know these universal laws and know how they work. You know, the law of cause and effect, you know, the law of compensation, the law of attraction. Like, these all work together to bring you an experience, you know, and so we have to be aware of these things. So every time we have an experience, we have to be aware as to why that experience is happening, so that we can make changes in our lives. But that's only if you want to make changes in your life. If you don't want to make changes in your life, then there's no point learning any of this stuff. If you don't want to change, what's the point? Just go out and continue living how you want to live. You have that free will to do so. But if you want your life to change, if you want your life to improve, then you're going to have to make some changes. And they're not big changes. They're small ones. What makes it so difficult is that we're so used to making these wrong choices, or these unloving choices, I should say. These unloving choices we're so used to. Second nature. You know, it's like we just respond. We respond how we were taught to respond. You know, and then, you know, there's the things that are within our soul. Oh, there was this thing on, this lady on Facebook this morning. And I guess there was this mother who was in a store, and she had a toddler who was throwing a tantrum, and he wouldn't shut up. And people are just, you know, kind of looking around, and she was becoming embarrassed. And And I guess this one lady looked at her and kind of rolled her eyes like, you know, ugh, you're a screaming child, you know. And so this lady was like, you know, mothers, you know, we need to stick together. Like, you know, do you not understand that she's having a hard time with her toddler? And she was like, we've all been there, you know, as mothers, so why not support another mother? And she's like, if we did that, you know, we would rule the world, you know, we would, you know, be together and nothing, you know, we stand together and stick together and, you know, support one another, and we would be in a better place. And she was like, I don't know why we can't just do this. And the whole time I'm like, I know why this can't happen. It can't happen because it's within the person's soul not to do that. They can't live that. I mean, we know what the right things are to do. We know what the loving things are to do, but for some reason, we cannot do it. And the reason why is because of the soul condition. Our soul condition dictates that we respond in a different way. Not a loving way, not a caring way, not in an understanding way, not in a way of having compassion. That does not work when you have all these unloving things within your soul. When you say, I'm a nice person, I'm a loving person, you know, but you'll cuss someone out real quick, it's like, well, if you're such a loving person, if you're a nice person, you know, why are you acting in such a way? Why do you have so much anger? Why do you have so much sadness? Why do you have so much judgment? It's because it's within your soul. And we have to recognize what's within our soul. So the reason why we can't have world peace is because we can achieve it. Okay, so we can achieve world peace, but it can only be sustained for a short period of time because the soul will show itself. And this happens in relationships. Like you have, you know, let's say you have a fight with your family member or a fight with your friend or significant other or whatever, and you're like, you tell yourself, you know what, that was petty, I'm sorry, and you know, you get over it, whatever, and then it happens again. It's because it cannot be sustained. Your soul condition is too degraded to sustain something like that. And the thing is, all of the Creator's laws are designed to expose all the things that are not supposed to be within your soul. And so that's why your soul keeps doing this peekaboo stuff where, you know, you try to be a loving, kind person, but all this stuff happens to you that brings this rage up, that brings this sadness up, because all of the laws, the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation are all working in unison to expose that which does not belong in your soul. And the only way you're going to see what's within your soul is through your reactions to things and to the law of attraction events that come into your experience. That's how you know what's within your soul. This is why I say everything that happens in your life is significant. Everything that happens in your life is there for you to see and acknowledge that it's within your soul. And the thing is, our life experience is mixed. It's mixed with good things and bad things. And that's God's way of showing you the good things that are within your soul and the bad things that are within your soul. Meaning the unloving things that are within your soul and the loving things that are within your soul. If your experience is mixed, meaning you have these experiences where you're having a good time with your friends and you're enjoying yourself, and then you also have these experiences where, you know, like you get in a car accident, or, you know, you lose your keys, like even stuff like that. Like when you lose things and you can't find something, that brings a sense of frustration to your life. And so the reason why that's coming up is because it's within your soul. And so why are you frustrated? Well, I can't find my keys. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's see. What do not finding your keys mean? It means I can't go and do what I want to do. Something's preventing me from doing the things that I want to do. You understand? There's something preventing you from moving forward. And so we have to understand, this is the thing about finding the emotional injuries that are associated with the events that we have. So when you can't find your keys, you're stuck. You don't have the freedom to do the things that you want to do. You can't go where you want to go. Something is preventing your freedom from being had. but someone would just get frustrated and just, you know, let it ruin their whole entire day. And it's not there to ruin your whole entire day. It's just there to show you what I just said. That's it. And then think about, you know, go all the way back to your childhood and think about the times that you couldn't do something. And the thing is, when we're dealing with childhood emotional injuries that are causing our reality today, that's what's happening. Your childhood injury, emotional injuries, and also the ones that are given to you by your parents through soul transference, all of those things are there and they're going to come up. But the thing is, everything that we're experiencing today is a result of those emotional injuries. So that's why we have to go all the way back to the beginning and remember the times we felt that way. Remember the times where, you know, something was taken from you, or you were prevented from having something, and that disallowed you from experiencing something. It could be like when you were a kid and there was, you know, something you wanted to go somewhere and you couldn't go because you had to do this. Well, something preventing you from experiencing the desire that you wanted to experience. Like, it's not that difficult, but it's difficult if we don't want to look for it. That's the only time it's difficult, is because we have resistance. We have to get rid of the resistance. Resistance is an unloving thing, because resistance, okay, so every time we have a law of attraction event, that's truth trying to be presented to us. It's attempting to show us the truth so that we can look at it and understand our life better. But as we have resistance to it, we don't want to accept the truth, which means we keep ourselves in this unloving state because we don't want to learn the truth about what's going on with us. You see, it's that simple. It is that simple. I'm hungry. I guess I'll have oatmeal when I get to I'll stay over here. I am so tired. I went to bed so late. I've been working all weekend. And I didn't have that cup of coffee on my way here. I'm gonna juice when I get home. I'm gonna start juicing in the morning, but I was just too tired to do it this morning. I need to go to bed earlier. So, this is why it's so important to understand this stuff. Because if you want your life to improve, you're going to have to understand what's preventing it from improving and what's causing it to stay the way that it is right now. You know, one thing I've learned is, you know, especially pulling back, and so part of me has pulled back from family, and also friends, but at the same time I didn't have to. And this is something that's interesting too, because as you change your soul condition, as you change the love within you, as you change your vibration, you are changing the frequency of who you are. And understand that the people who you are or have been, or maybe possibly still are engaging with, you all vibrate at the same frequency. You're vibrating at the same frequency, which is why you guys all get along. Or I should say interact with one another. But what happens is, as you start to improve, or I should say as you start to change, your frequency changes. And you're no longer a vibrational match to those who you were once engaging with. And sometimes it's your family members. And the thing is, family members generally engage with one another because they vibrate the same. They have the same things in their soul. I hope that carnival is not still there. So, as you vibrate at the same frequency, you interact with one another. And the thing is, as you interact with one another, because of the same things that are within your soul, you have these law of attraction experiences that are meant to expose that which dwells within your soul that's not supposed to be there. And this is why, and the thing is, the family members have the same belief systems, they have the same ideals, and so they're very similar to to who you are, your family members. And that's why you engage with them. And that's why you keep feeling the pain that you feel, because you guys are all the same. And you guys all hurt one another because the laws are dictating that you expose this that's within your soul. Like it's trying to show everyone, hey, this is what's in your soul as a group, as a family unit. This is what dwells within your soul that's unloving and needs to go. But here's the thing. Like, nobody knew I was on this path. Nobody knew what I was doing, but I started to recognize some things that were within me that were unloving to myself and others. And as I started to work on that, as I started to realize that, and as I started to accept the truth of these things, I started changing. And what happened was, the people that I know, it started with my friends, the people that I knew, they just fell off the radar. Like they just they fell back. Like it was just out of nowhere. It's like we just stopped communicating. There wasn't any effort on my part, and there wasn't any effort on their part. And one day I just noticed, hey, I don't talk to these people anymore. And one of the things is I was so focused on me. I was focused on understanding these things. And that meant that I was focused on truth. I was focused on learning what truth is. I had a true, pure desire for it. And that's why I was, awarded the information, the truth, because it's what I was seeking. And as I started to understand it, as I started to accept it, as I started to apply it, everything just started changing. Like I don't even have contact with my family too much. Like they do their own thing. There was a time before I changed that they would call with their drama. They don't call with their drama anymore. And I didn't say anything to them. I didn't say, hey, stop calling me with your drama. I didn't say any of this stuff. It just stopped. It just stopped. And here's the thing. There was also a desire, not a desire, but there was also an understanding or a belief, and I guess you can say desire, to have a family bond. And that's something that a desire that I had and still have. And so what happened was these thoughts started coming in, like, maybe I should contact them, and have a relationship with them. And this was because growing up, I didn't have that. And so that is a childhood emotional injury where I felt like I wasn't, part of the family. And so that's a desire that I had when I was a child. And that emotional injury is causing these thoughts to come up. And so that means I haven't grieved the fact that I can't have that with the people that are labeled as my family. So this is something that I have to recognize, and this is something that you are going to have to recognize if you're on this path, because as you change, you'll start to feel, because it's something that's still within your soul that needs to be released. There's a desire to still have that relationship with your family, a positive, loving relationship. And that's something that still dwells within me. So the fact that I don't have any communication with them brings this up. And then, I think about all the times that I did have good, interactions with my family, or like with my cousins or whatever. Like it wasn't always bad. Like there were good times that we had. So I look back on that times and I say to myself, oh gosh, I wish, it could be like that. But the bottom line is I always wish it could be like that. But it can't be like that because they are still who they are. They have not changed. I have changed. And if I use my free will to re-engage with someone who I know isn't loving, or who doesn't care, or who isn't supportive, that means I am calling, that's a free will choice for me to involve myself in that. It's no different than, dang, it's cold in here now. It's no different than me using my free will to hang out with thugs, or to hang out with dope addicts, or to hang out with drug dealers, or to hang out with thieves. That would be a free will choice to engage with that energy. And as I engage with that energy, there will be a consequence to that. The cause and the effect. So if I cause myself to be involved with this energy that is different than mine, then the effect is going to be something that is going to be unwanted. I already know that. So we have to understand, like, if we don't have a relationship, a positive, loving relationship with our family, and we don't really engage with them because we want to be different, then I need to get over, but I can't, so I'll just go around. Then that means that we will call something to us, and we can't blame anybody else for that, because the law of attraction has already taken care of what needed to be taken care of. Meaning, the law of attraction says, hey, you're different than your family or your friends now. So, life that are a vibrational match to that. That's what the law of attraction does. But if we use our free will to undo that, then we're going to suffer the consequences of hanging out with the thug, of hanging out with the dope addict, of hanging out with the drug dealer. Do you understand? So if you have unloving, judgmental family, then what's going to happen is you're going to feel what a judging, unloving family unit does. You're going to feel it, because that's all that they can give you. They don't have it within themselves to give you something else that's different. And so we have to accept where they are and let them be who they choose to be for themselves, and not give up the new, improved you that you have turned into, that you have transformed into. Does that make sense? Until we learn to love ourselves completely, because the thing is, once these emotional injuries are still within you if you did not get rid of them. So, I mean, and it's not even a bad thing if you hang out with your family. And I'm not saying don't hang out with your friends or family, because if you did have an interaction, here's the thing. If you do re-engage, it's only because it's within your soul. And if you engage with other people, like if you purposely did not engage or stopped engaging with your family, I'm just assuming that they're abusive. So if you stopped engaging with your family who are abusive, if you use your will to do that, that means that the same type of people are going to be in your experience. They're just going to have different faces. They're just not going to be related to you. But they will conjure up, they will bring up the same emotions that your family members did. But if you changed and you allowed the law of attraction to take them away on its own, then those are not going to show up in other people. Other different people with different faces who have different agendas and different soul conditions will be in your reality. But if you use your will to try to escape that, because if you're in it and you're experiencing the pain, it's because the law of attraction is causing this to come to you, so that it brings up these emotional feelings within you, so that you recognize that, hey, there's something within you that's causing this to be attracted to you. You see? Oh, there's too much going on. All this, I don't know what's going on. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to say. You know, if you're wondering why your life is the way that it is and it's not improving, it's because you are not recognizing the unloving things that are within your soul, and you're continually doing things that are unloving to other people, but not understanding that you're doing it. This is why it's so important, people, to understand the laws, the rules of the universe, the rules for us as souls. People don't know the laws. They don't know the rules. And with anyone, and you can just look at man's laws and rules. If you do not know man's laws and rules, you're going to get caught up. You are going to get caught up in this stuff. And it's going to be painful. Like, hey, you know, you go to a different state and the laws of the road are different, you know. So some places you can't make a right turn on a red light. Here in California, you can. But if you go somewhere and you can't do that, and you're not aware of the laws, you're not aware of the rules of the road, then you're going to possibly suffer the consequences to that. And the thing is, with man's laws, you only suffer the consequences if you're caught. With God's laws, you're always caught. There is no escaping. The way God has designed the laws, the way God has designed the universe, you are always watched. And everything you do is being documented. It's being tallied. Like, everything is just, there's a huge long list. And that's another thing. Like, there's a list. I don't know if you listen to the video. If you look up a video that I have of a channeling, I think it's called Panic, or a spirit is panicked after he dies. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it in right here. I'll put the title in right here so you guys can see it later. And this guy learns of a list that he is able to see. And he didn't see that list until he was aware of it. And this goes back to what I said earlier. You are not aware of the things you're not aware of. You're unaware of the things that you are unaware of. And you are only aware of the things that you are aware of. So there are things that are going on that you're not aware of. Like, there's some things that you heard today for the first time and you were not aware of it. But now you are. So now you are aware of the things that you are aware of. And now you just added one more thing or two more things or 5 or 10 or 20, however many things that you heard in this video that you've never heard before. It's about becoming aware. That's what it's about. Understanding. And that doesn't mean just because you become aware that that's all you need. No. Then you have to decide if you want to move forward with that. That new awareness that you have. That's your free will choice. That's what free will is all about. For you to do whatever it is you want to do. For you to live your life however you want to live your life. But the thing is, if you have this desire to have your life lived in a certain way, to have your life, or to live your life with joy and happiness and good things, then you're going to have to learn the things or the rules and the laws that are able to bring that to you. And stop the things that are, or stop the suffering and the pain and the discomfort that you experience, that you want to stop. You have to know what the rules are in order to stop those things from happening and bring you a different reality, to bring you a different experience. That's the goal. That is the goal. All right, people, I hope you have a great Monday. Yeah, I don't know if I'll make a video tomorrow. Maybe I will. I'll be more rested. Even my speech is weird right now. Talking like I have some kind of speech impediment, and I do not. But it sounds like I do. Anyway, take care, everyone. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye now. And remember, love yourselves. Just love yourselves. That's all. Just love yourselves. All right. See you later. Bye. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. It is, almost 3:45. So I made a video yesterday, and I was talking about why people experience pain and suffering in their lives, or why they just have discomfort in their lives, and why they keep experiencing the same things over and over again. I meant to piggyback on that this morning, but I was extremely tired, and actually this video may be associated or attached to the one that I made, so me saying, I made a video yesterday may be kind of weird, but it's just a continuation of it. But what I realized, I left some things, what I realized is that I did leave some things out that I should have put in there, but I didn't. And it was more in regards to the understanding the laws. And this is one of the reasons why people, actually it's the main reason why people experience the pain and suffering and discomfort in their lives, or why they keep having problems in their life and they can't seem to fix it. The reason why they are not able to fix it is because they don't understand the framework. They don't understand the laws that are set, that govern our soul. This is a reason why. Hold on a second. So this is huge, because if you don't understand the framework, if you're in a situation and you don't understand the laws, you don't understand the guidelines that are set, then how can you have an interact, or I should say this, how, if we are met, well, let's back it up just a little bit more. If we understand our creation, meaning what we were intended to experience, So if we can understand what the Creator intended for us to experience, that is the foundation that needs to be had in order to understand the rest. And this is huge because it's the one thing that helped me understand where I was going wrong. It's the one thing that helped me to understand that the things that I was experiencing, I should not be experiencing. And if I'm not supposed to be experiencing these things, if this was not the intention, then what was the intention? And this is the truth. And this is why truth is so important, and why you have to hold the truth in order to get out of the situation that you're in. So anytime you suffer, or anytime you see anyone else suffer, it's because they do not hold the truth. The truth of what? The truth of why we're here. The truth of the Creator's intention for us. If we can hold that truth, if we know that that is the basis of our existence, then we know when something is out of whack. And this lets you know that a lot of these belief systems out there are incorrect. Even though we hold on to them and we believe them to be correct, they're not correct. Even in a Christian religion, they have, they understand that we are the pinnacle of God's creation, and we are perfect. We are made in God's image, and so we have this perfection within us. But yet they have other belief systems that disregard that aspect of who we are. So if you can believe and understand and hold this truth, then you can figure out when something is out of alignment. You can figure out when you are out of alignment with what the universe is made up of, which is love. And so if you know that you're supposed to have an experience that is joyful and happy and fulfilling, and you can have whatever it is that you desire. Sorry, I was looking at something behind me. If you know you have, where am I going? Okay, sorry, I'm taking a different way home, and I'm looking at my map at the same time. If you know that this is a framework, then every time you look at your life and something is out of whack, you now have the opportunity, and it is only an opportunity, people. It is only an opportunity. It is not a given, because you have to engage. See, the thing is, we are on our own trajectory, and we create that trajectory based on our decisions that we make. And a lot of these decisions are based on outside influence, the things that we see and we choose to interact with. We also make our decisions based on the emotional injuries that we have created for ourselves. And we also have the emotional injuries that were given to us by our parents. So we have all of these things that come into play, but all of it is due to our free will. Like, we may have the urge to do something, but we have the free will choice to engage in that or not. And so here's the difference. I don't know if I talked about this before, but we have this law of attraction thing that comes to us, right? The event that comes to us by the way of law of attraction, and the law of cause and effect, and the law of compensation. So we have these things that are coming to us, right? But we have that opportunity, that moment when we say to ourselves or ask ourselves, do we want to engage in this or not? That is a free will choice. So yes, we're getting the law of attraction event, and that law of attraction event is based on our soul. So yes, we are getting the experience that is on automatic. Basically, it's like automatic pilot kind of thing. So the universe is responding to us based on our soul condition, or I should say is responding to our soul condition. And then when we get that event, whether it's a bad one or a good one, we have a choice as to how we respond to this. And that decision that we make will determine if we create more karma. There's two things that are happening when that happens. Number one, we can react or respond in a way that is unloving, because those are the only two choices that we have. We can only make an unloving choice or a loving choice. So if we choose to make an unloving choice, let's say someone did something to us, right? Someone slapped us in the face. Let's just say that. If you respond in a negative way, number one, you're not getting the lesson that is attempting to be brought to you by the law of attraction, but you were also creating a secondary karma in your unloving actions toward the other person in return. And this is like I said, this is the reason why it's so important to understand the laws and how they work. Anything unloving is never justified. It's never justified. In God's universe, it is not justified. And that's something that we have to come to understand and accept. Not just understand, not just know it, not just understand it, but accept it. Because if you don't accept it, you can't live by it. We can only live by things that we accept. And we have accepted a great deal of misinformation. And so we have to correct that. We, as individual souls, like I'll take myself as an example. I was raised in a Christian household, and that religion was a Jehovah's Witness religion. And so even though I personally was not a Jehovah's Witness and am not a Jehovah's Witness, I was still taught certain things based on those religious beliefs. So though I did not absorb, or I should say take on or buy into that religion, unknowingly I hold certain beliefs and values and whatever from that religion. And so it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever we hold that is untrue, we have to acknowledge that. But in order to do that, we have to acknowledge the truth. So you have to accept one and release the other. And that's difficult to do if you believe that what you hold is true. Oh, look. And he don't care because his car already banged up. So, that's LA, people. Whatever. So when we're looking at this, at how we create and why we keep experiencing the things that we experience, it's because we do not understand what the truth is. The truth of what? The truth on how the universe operates. That is the only truth you need. If you have the truth of how the universe operates, then you don't have to know anything else. Because we are in the universe. We are occupying space within the universe. And the universe has universal laws that God has, or the creator, or whoever you want to say, put into place. Now, if you understand what these laws of the universe are, then you would know how to have an experience within the universe. And see, this is why you have to look at the fundamentals. This is why you have to get away from the whole, what am I doing the 110? Let me see, what am I getting on? 110, yes. I hope it doesn't switch on me. I think it is a 110. If that's the case, I need to get over. Sometimes it switches on me. I know. I'm like that driver today. I'm like that driver, which is not good. So, yeah, if we understand the fundamentals of the universe, and we understand the laws and the rules and the guidelines that are in place so that we can have that life of happiness and joy and have our desires met, because that's what the universe is here to offer us. Like, that is what the Creator has put forth for us to create and have, are all of these things that we desire. But in order to get those things, we have to live by the laws and the rules and the guidelines. I like to look at them as guidelines. It's like, okay, this is, if you want to achieve this is how you're going to get it. It's like with anything on this planet. If you want to achieve something, some kind of occupation, then you're going to have to follow these guidelines in order to be successful at it. If you want to learn how to fix a car, then you're going to have to follow these guidelines in order to be successful at it. So if you want to create abundance in your life, in whatever shape or form you desire it to be, then you're going to have to know what the guidelines are in order for you to manifest that for yourself, in order for you to create that for yourself. And so the guideline, the basis of this universe is love. And so if you don't know what is loving and what isn't loving, then you're going to always have mistakes. You're always going to have these experiences that don't feel good to you. So like, if you want to look at a relationship fails for one reason: you don't understand love. And so you have to look at it both ways. You have to look at it from the perspective of the person that you're with, and you have to look at it from your perspective. So we understand that, well, you may not, maybe you do, free will is a gift. And every single soul is entitled to this free will. And so that means that we have to respect the free will of another. And the reason why that is because they are expected to honor our free will, or your free will. So everyone's free will must be honored. So everyone has desires. Everyone has different desires. And if everyone had acknowledged that they had their own desires and they didn't try to press them upon anyone else, they would be respecting their free will to do whatever it is that they want that is in harmony with love. And they would respect the free will of the other and their choices. And if they are in harmony in love or not. So let's say you are in a relationship and you're always arguing and bickering because your partner wants to do something and you don't want to do it. It's not something that you enjoy. So let's just use an example of ballet. So your girlfriend or your wife or your boyfriend or whoever wants to go see ballet, but you really don't like ballet. You can't stand it. It's really boring to you. You don't find any joy in it whatsoever. Your free will says you don't have to go. But if your partner or girlfriend or husband or whatever, wife, tries to force you or pressure you or manipulate you in any way to go to this ballet thing, they are being unloving. And this is where the argument starts. They expect you to do something. It doesn't matter if it's washing the dishes. If you don't want to wash the dishes, and that other person is getting irritated because you're not washing the dishes, they're expecting you to do something that is outside of your will. Your will isn't to wash the dishes, therefore you don't have to wash the dishes. Now, there comes another point where if you don't want to wash the dishes and you're not partaking in the household duties, and this is what's triggering this individual, so they feel like they're doing all the work, well then they have to ask themselves, why are they even with you if you don't want to help with any of the household duties? Like, at what point do you say to yourself, I live here too, I care about my partner enough to help them with these chores? So this is why it's important to understand the laws and the rules, because once you understand the laws and the rules, you'll understand the choices that you're making. Not only will you understand the choices that you're making, but you'll understand the reasons why you're making them. So you would have to ask yourself, why are you not supporting your partner in these duties within a household that you are sharing? Because it's a loving thing to do to take care of yourself. So if you're not taking care of your environment, that means you're not taking care of yourself. And so what the other person has to ask themselves is, why are they with someone who's not willing to love themselves and care about their environment? Do you see what I'm saying? So we have to ask ourselves, why are we doing the things that we're doing? And in addition to that, why are we experiencing the law of attraction that we're experiencing? Because the bottom line is, if you're with someone who is not supporting themselves, who doesn't care about themselves and their environment, then they're not going to care about you. And that's evident because they're not wanting to help out with the general duties of the household. Do you see what I'm saying? So, but we would have to look at this and honor the laws and the rules and understand what is loving and what is loving. Like, is this person demonstrating love? Because the bottom line is, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to love someone else. So if someone is not willing to clean up after themselves and be in a clean environment, and they don't care if they live in a pigsty, they're not going to be capable of loving you. It's impossible. You have to have, this is why, I say in my videos, you have to have self-love. You have to have this first. This is the foundation. And if you find that someone does not love themselves in any capacity, that is something you need to look at. Especially if you are on a path of learning to love yourself, and coming to understand the things that you're not doing that are unloving to yourself, and correcting those things, and start doing things that are in harmony with love of self. But here's the thing. The reason why people stay with individuals they're not happy with or not content with is because there's a fear. And whatever that fear is, they need to recognize, because as you hold fear, that is not loving yourself. You see? This is why I say you have to love yourself. Because if you love yourself, you won't allow fear, you won't allow anger, you won't allow sadness to be a part of your journey. And if you do have that within your experience, then that lets you know that it's within your soul. Any unloving, unhappy, discomfort, pain, sadness, anger, it doesn't matter what it is. Any experience that you have, meaning any experience that you have with another person that causes you to be angry, that causes you to be sad, that causes you to be uncomfortable, any of those things means that you have something that's within your soul, and it's damaged your soul, and it's your responsibility to find out what it is and dig it out. And how you dig that out is to release. First, you have to identify what it is. Then you have to release the emotional injury so that it no longer dwells within your soul. And the thing is, hold on a second. Oh my gosh. The thing is, once you identify what these unloving things are and you release that emotional injury, if it's associated with your partner, you will do a couple of things. One, you will leave because you understand that the unloving treatment that you're receiving from that person is no longer something you're willing to accept. See, we only accept pain from others, discomfort from others, anger from others, because we do not love ourselves enough to leave. Did you hear me? The only reason why we stay is because we don't love ourselves. There's something within our soul that is unloving towards ourselves. And this is the only reason why this person is in your life. To show you, to do the things that they're doing that trigger you. So, for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I have people who live with me, and they're not the most mindful people of my things. And it frustrates me because I feel like I'm kind enough to let these people use the things that I purchase and or have in my home, and it's like they don't care. They'll destroy it and they won't even think anything of it, or they'll break something and they won't even say anything. They'll try to conceal it. And so I have to understand. So I would get triggered. Like, these things would trigger me. Like, I would get upset. One, because there's a dishonesty involved. Like, that's one of the things that it's these people, these swerving. The dishonesty is what gets me. The fact that, they hide things from me. And it's like, and I have to ask myself, what am I doing with letting these people, or allowing these people to be my home? Now, the thing is, it doesn't matter who it is. So this is why I don't get rid of people. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work when I use my free will to interrupt what the universe has brought to me. This is one thing I have learned, not to run away from the law of attraction events. It's just going to happen again, because this has happened for years with different people. The different people I have allowed to come into my home have, in some way, shape, or form, done the same things. And that I cannot get rid of unless I identify exactly what the emotional injury is and release it. And once I release it, something's going to happen. They're going to move on their own. They'll leave. and I won't be bothered with. There's experiences that I've had where certain people got on my nerves, and this was like, gosh, probably 20 years ago, maybe. And it was just too much. I was dealing with it, or I wasn't dealing with it, is what it was. And I was suppressing it, and it just came up, and I just broke down. And after that happened, they moved. Like, that person was gone. Like, I was no longer experiencing what I was experiencing before. And so every time we have a trigger, it is the universe trying to show us what's within our soul, because something within our soul is being triggered in order for us to have a response. If we didn't have an emotional response, then but because we're having an emotional response, we are having our soul triggered. We are having this experience based on that soul, based on that emotional injury that's within our soul. So that's, one of the ways to, or actually the way to figure out what's within our soul. And so as we have these different experiences that are unpleasant, it lets us know that there's something unloving that we are doing to ourselves or to others. But whatever it is within our soul that's causing us to use our free will in a manner that is out of harmony with love. It's very difficult to use our free will to do something in harmony with love when we have disharmony within our soul. It's very difficult to do that. Now, we can use our free will to do things that we would deem loving, but because we don't have, and this is interesting, because we don't have love within our soul, because our soul is in such a degraded state, because we don't have the level of love that's within our soul to sustain something that's loving, we will take action that is out of harmony with love, but that looks like it's in harmony with love, but is actually out of harmony with love. And like that homeless person that I had used as an example earlier in the video, that guy is experiencing his own law of attraction. So whatever he had going on within his soul is so degraded, he can't even generate an income and have a roof over his head. So he's going to have to acknowledge something in his life that caused him to manifest that for himself. But each and every time someone gives him food or something like that, it sustains. It's almost like he doesn't have to look at anything because we keep taking the pain away. So if his fear is not having enough, or not going to have the ability to eat or have a next meal, if that's his fear, he's never going to do something for himself to generate for himself, because other people are taking that fear away. They're the addiction. Does that make sense? Like, we are his addiction. He's addicted to asking other people for money so that he doesn't have to get out there and work and do something for himself. Does that make sense? This is why it's so tricky. So when I said, if we have unloving things within our soul, we will make a choice that is out of harmony or unloving with the universe. And that action is unloving, because what we are disallowing this man to do is see that there is something within him. Because the thing is, if you really understand life, most people change when they hit rock bottom. Even when you look at a drug addict, they'll hit rock bottom, and then they're like, something has to change. So if we are always subsidizing someone's homelessness, they're never going to get to that point where they are able to say to themselves, something has to change. Because as it stands, what needs to change? When they can sit there all day long and say, hey, can you help me out? I'm homeless. And someone gives them a meal or $5 or whatever. They don't have to do anything because we are doing it for them. And that's not a loving thing. When you have a child, and it's the same thing, they're just adults. When you have a child, you teach them how to do for themselves. If you have a child and they're like, hey, mom or dad, can you bring me my toys? You're like, no. If you want something, you have to get up and get it yourself. You have to not be lazy. This is what we teach our children. So clearly something has happened to this adult who is homeless, And they need to be taught that, hey, if you want something, you have to get up and get it. You have to be motivated enough to get something that you desire. And not just sit around and ask someone to help you, because that person is not always going to be there to help you. Does that make sense? And so the thing is, like, someone can, now if that's their desire to be homeless, that's their desire to be homeless. Like, there's some people who purposely live on the street. There are people who have money who actually just don't want to, it's not like they can't support themselves. They don't want to. And there's people who have that desire. And if that's the case, then that's the case. But we have to understand that living like that is, oh shit, did my window break? Living like that is not the way to live. I don't see, oh, I see where it hit. Living like that is not the way to live. That is not a happy, joyful, I mean, look at a homeless person. Do they really look happy to you? I mean, look at them. Do they look excited about life? No. So you know that they're not living a life that was intended for us to experience. And this is why we have to understand the truth. We have to understand the foundation. The thing is, if we look at man's how would I say, definition of what okay is or what a good life is, we're screwed. We cannot use man's definition. So if a homeless person has a tent and he has a gift card to get food, if that's man's definition of being okay, we're in trouble, because that is not okay. That is not okay. And that's evident by what the spirits in the spirit world experience. So the celestial beings who have these huge mansions, these huge homes, just because they simply desire it, if they have those things in their celestial... Sorry, I got a phone call. It knocked my recording off. If we... I lost my train of thought. I was talking about the celestial beings. So if celestial beings have all this great stuff, right? And they're happy and they're enjoying their life with their friends and they're experiencing their desires, all of their desires are being met, that tells you that that's what we were meant to experience. We were meant to have our desires met, whatever they may be. Does that make sense? I know that makes sense. The thing is, do you want to accept it? That's the question. Do you want to accept it? And you don't have to accept it. You do not. But for those who do accept it and you understand what I'm talking about, then you can see it. And this is going to help you change your life, because as you understand what love is, then you start to slow down your karma. You start minimizing the intensity of the negative experiences, because now you catch yourself. You catch yourself. And that's important. That's the first stage, is catching yourself when you do something. You don't just change overnight. Sometimes you do. The only time you change overnight is when you accept it on a soul level. When you accept something on a soul level, you won't compromise, and there's no need. The thing is, when you accept something on a soul level, you don't have to think about it. Understand this. This is a crucial thing to know. When something is accepted on a soul level, you have it within your soul, and it's something that is just it's part of who you are in your soul. You never have to think about it. You never have to think about it. This is why you never ever have to think about cursing someone out when they cut you off, because that anger is within your soul. And you didn't think about it. You didn't think, well, should I curse this person out or shouldn't I curse this person out? You don't think about those things. You're like, just like that, in an instant, you're just enraged, because that's what's within your soul. The soul does not think. The soul does not question itself. It just expresses itself as is. What happens is, we feel it coming up and we use our mind and we're like, let me hold back, gather yourself. Or, you're like, I'm a Christian. People will say that. I'm a Christian. Just, God's way. Jesus take the wheel. They say all these different things. But understand, they're controlling the soul. They're controlling what's about to come up naturally. See, the universe, everything in the universe responds naturally until the mind gets involved. And the mind has a way of altering. And this is good. This is good because what happens is you use the mind. The mind isn't this bad thing. The mind is something that we're supposed to use. So the mind can detect the elevated blood pressure and it can sense the difference, the physiology changing within your body. And you know you're about to get upset. And before it gets to that point where you lose control, you're able to pull it back and not explode and do something that would cause you more karma. Do you see? So it's not like I'm not saying that, just live by your soul. Yes, I am saying that. But until we get to a place where we have only love within our soul, we need the mind to catch ourselves. We need the mind, the awareness to understand that there's something happening within our soul that needs to be rectified. There's something that is damaged within our soul. There's something that's unloving within our soul that needs to be removed. What is that thing? And part of what I've been talking about is releasing the emotional injuries, which is part of the information you need after you identify what it is. So once you identify what the emotional injury is within you that's causing you to have these emotional experiences, now it's time for you to use the knowledge that you have on how to release it so that you never have to do that again. So that your second nature response, or first nature response, I should say, is just being a loving person, since that's what's within you. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. And so there's a lot of work to do. There is a lot of work to do if you're on this planet, because we are in a first dimensional state. And the reason why we're in a first dimensional state is because there's a lot of unloving things within our soul. Does that make sense? We're not in the second dimension or the third. We're not there. I know you hear people talk about 5D, and fine, they can talk about it all they want to, but that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of anger and a lot of sadness, a lot of pain within the soul. If there wasn't any anger or sadness or pain within their soul, they wouldn't have to meditate. They wouldn't have to pray to God and say, hey, I need help. Help me get through this time. What time? The difficult time that you're having. The difficult time that you're having, that your soul is helping to create for yourself. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, we can say that we're ascending and we're contacting this race and that race, and we have this information and that information, but it matters not if our soul condition is in a degraded state. And telling ourselves that we're in a better state than what we are disallows us to look at what's going on and fix it. And if you're disallowing, understand, hear this out. If you disallow someone information or the ability to fix or correct themselves, you are being unloving to that person. If you disallow anyone from improving themselves, you are being unloving to that person. So if you are denying something, so if you disallow yourself from seeing something that could help you improve yourself, you are being unloving to yourself. And this is why I say people do not understand the unloving things that they are doing to themselves. This is why I said loving yourself must be your first priority. It must be your first priority. Until you make you the first priority, you will continue to suffer over and over and over again until the day you die. And then once you die, you will continue to experience suffering, because life does not end. We do not die. And that's another truth of the universe. And if you don't understand that, then you're going to suffer. You're just going to continue to suffer. But this is how you get out of it, by understanding exactly what's going to happen, understanding what is happening right now in this moment, and understanding what you can do in order to change that situation so you're not experiencing it anymore. And there you have it. There you have it, people. Always make yourself first priority. Not in a selfish way. And the thing is, that's another thing you have to understand. You have to understand what love is and what being selfish really is. It's not, most people will say, well, if you do something for yourself, you're just being selfish. And if you do something for yourself, but you don't help others, you're being selfish. That's a bunch of BS. And this is one of the falsehoods that we have been taught. This is why I say it doesn't matter what faith you belong to. You have to understand the laws and the rules of the universe. Doing for yourself is not... Check this out. So celestial beings, okay? Celestial beings who have left the 6th dimension and are now in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and above, they are considered celestial beings. And so they understand what God, what the Creator has deemed to be truth. So they understand the rules and they understand the laws, and they will not break them no matter what. So no matter how much suffering is going on this planet right now, the reason why, and this is for you New Age people out there too, because you have this belief that there are aliens out there or some kind of extraterrestrials who are, or who have the ability and who are doing things out in the cosmos to protect us, okay? Because I follow this stuff. I was listening to this stuff before, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking out of my ass. So there are people who believe that there are extraterrestrials in the sky in these big old spaceships, and they're just waiting for the right time to come and save us, or they're preventing things from happening on the planet, all right? These celestial beings, or whoever you want to call them, first of all, it can't happen because they have to respect the free will choices of the people on Earth. So if the free will choice is for people to destroy themselves, they have to let that happen. And the reason why that's allowed to happen is because we don't die. You are never going to die based on the things that you do that harm you. Does that make sense? Like, yes, our physical body may expire, it may die. Let's say there was a nuclear bomb that went off and millions died. Billions even. The only thing that died was the physical living thing, the vessel that we are using right now on this physical earth. But their spirit does not. They still have the same body, but in spirit form. And when you are a spirit, it seems just as physical, which is why people don't understand that they've died. Like, a lot of people don't know that they've passed away, because what we perceive in this physical world as a spirit, we see it as some invisible or ghostly thing. But when you're in that ghostly thing and you're looking through the eyes of that ghostly thing, it's not ghostly at all. It's just as physical as my arm here. It's just as physical as this physical body. It's just in a different vibration. It's in a different dimension. Does that make sense? So, I so went way off topic. Oh, perfect. All right. I must be doing something right, because my law of attraction just gave me a front row seat right here. Okay, sharing truth. Anyway, I came to get some ginger. I'm starting juicing, or starting my juicing again in the morning, so I needed some ginger. The one that I had earlier was it sat too long. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Love yourself, guys. Just love yourself more. Love yourself more, to the point where you don't compromise your happiness. You don't compromise your free will. You don't compromise your integrity. You don't compromise your morals. I mean, there are certain things that we do as a society and that we really don't feel comfortable with, but we do it because it's accepted by our peers and by our family members. So, the thing is, like, I'll use myself as an example. There's some things that I don't engage in anymore. For one, I never was a drinker, but I would drink because my friends wanted to go out to the club. So when I went out to the club, I would get something that was sweet, because I don't like the taste of alcohol. And so even though I didn't drink by myself, I didn't drink when, we went out to restaurants or anything, but when we went to a club, it's kind of like the thing that's expected, and I really didn't know anything about virgin drinks. To me, it was kind of pointless ordering a virgin drink. It's like, it just didn't make any sense to me. It was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But now I don't do it. I don't even go to the club. Why? I don't desire to go to the club. I don't desire to drink. I just don't. I don't desire to gossip about other people. I mean, and these are things that I used to engage in. I didn't like doing it, but hey, it's what we did when we met up with our friends. Oh, have you talked to so-and-so? No. They're going through this and they're going through that, and I don't know what their problem is, and they just have a lot of issues. Like, it wasn't my place to even be talking about that stuff, because I wasn't talking with the person. I was talking about the person. But it wasn't in a constructive way. It wasn't like, oh, well, let's come up with some kind of a strategy because someone's struggling, and let's see if we can help that person. Like, it wasn't coming from that place. It wasn't coming from a place of love. It was coming from a place of damning someone else for what they were doing or the decisions that they were making. So I no longer engage in that stuff. And this is one of the reasons why I don't really have too many friends anymore, because I don't care what someone is going through in their relationship. Especially if I know that they don't have any kind of desire to better themselves or acknowledge their part in whatever drama is going on in their relationship. If they don't want to know, I don't have any business talking about it. What does that have to do with me? Nothing. So why would I involve myself? Why would I involve myself and try to give someone some kind of advice when they didn't ask for it? So here I am pushing my thoughts or opinions on someone when they didn't ask for it. Well, that's an unloving thing to do. You ask someone, hey, do you want my opinion? No. All right then. But if I don't ask, I just start talking. You see what I'm saying? So there are things that we engage in on a daily basis with our friends and with our family. And even if it's judging another family member for what they're choosing to do, that is an unloving thing to do. Because one, you're engaging in judgment, and most people think that engaging in judgment is okay if you're related. And it's not. Judgment is never okay. So as you continue to engage in these things over and over and over again, and then you're sitting back wondering, why are these bad things happening to me? It's because you're engaging in these unloving things that you don't really realize that are unloving things. Because, like I said before, you're not aware of the things that you were unaware of. That's why they're called, it's part of things that you're unaware of, because you're unaware of it. You're only aware of the things that you're aware of. But as you desire more, as you desire to know more, as you desire to know truth, then these things begin to come to you, like through means like this video, or a book, or some kind of writing, or something that someone says to you that triggers something else, or a question. Have you ever noticed when you have a question, you get an answer through this random person? It's like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that the other day. Oh, I was just wondering about that. You see what I'm saying? Like, the universe brings you the answers to all your questions if there is a pureness behind it. If there is a pure desire to know whatever it is, you will know. And as for myself, I'm an extremely curious person. Extremely curious. And so I question about a lot of things. And so I get a lot of answers. I mean, some of the things are just weird. Just weird, random stuff. I know people, at work, this video is almost going to be 2 hours long. These, people at work, like, not so much now because I don't talk as much, but I would have all this random information. Like, people would ask, like, aloud these different questions, and I would have the answer to them, because at one point it was a question of mine, and I asked, and I got the answer. And so they're like, how do you know all this stuff? And I know it because I sought it out. It was something that I was curious about. Like, that's who I am. But if you're not curious about anything, just like take the homeless man that I was talking about. If he's not curious how to stop his suffering, then he's not going to get the answer to stopping his suffering. It's not going to happen. I mean, the best that I can do for him is to sit down and talk with him, one soul to another, and just explain to him why he's experiencing what he's experiencing. and give them something to think about, because when you think about it, you start to understand it a little more. You kind of make sense of things, and then you're able to start asking questions. And then when you ask questions, these answers start coming to you. And then what happens is you start re-engaging with the universe in a positive manner. And the thing is, what most people are doing is engaging with the universe in a negative manner. You see what I'm saying? So this is why it's so important to be on a path of understanding, wanting to understand more, accepting things that may go against our belief systems if they are true. If they're true, they're true. Let it be true. You can't change it. The only thing you can change is if you believe in it or not. But you do not have the power to change the truth. That's already set in stone, if you will. It's already written in the universe, and there's nothing that your soul is going to do to change that. That's just the way it is, and I've accepted that. I know I can't change truth. All I can do is find it and accept it and use it to create a better experience for my life that I have. All right? So anyway, let me go in here and get this ginger. So anyway, if you have any questions about what I talked about, please feel free to ask. And I'll talk to you guys another time. And if there's something that you want me to talk about, let me know. And I can talk about it. All right? Take care, everyone. Bye now. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Bye.